From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, October the 9th, 2023. It is with a truly heavy heart that we report on the devastating tragic events of the last 2 days in Israel. As of the time of the taping of this newscast today, the death toll from the shocking Hamas attack on Israel that began Saturday morning was updated to 800, with some 2,500 injured and over 100 taken hostage. Israel formally declared a state of war yesterday and launched Operation Swords of Iron. The Israeli Air Force has been carrying out what it said was extensive airstrikes, wreaking havoc, it wrote, on Hamas terrorists. And today, Israel's Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, ordered a complete siege of Gaza. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari yesterday gave a briefing on the situation.
This weekend, Hamas started a war against Israel with the worst massacre of innocent civilians in Israel's history. Hamas was more barbaric and more brutal than ISIS. Let me be crystal clear. Israel will respond with determination and force to their unprovoked war crimes. Hamas murdered hundreds of Israelis, men, women, and children, and took dozens hostage into Gaza. This horrific terror act demands a forceful, determined, and sustained response, which is exactly what we are doing and continue to do.
And last night, IDF spokesperson Jonathan Conricus also spoke of the tragedy and the IDF mission.
It is by far the worst day in Israeli history. Never before have so many Israelis been killed by one single thing, let alone enemy activity, on one day. Our job is to make sure that at the end of this war, Hamas will no longer have any military capabilities to threaten Israeli civilians with.
Some 300,000 IDF reservists have been called up for the operation. The brutal assault began early Saturday morning when Hamas terrorists from Gaza, en masse, infiltrated communities in southern Israel, taking over homes and buildings, viciously murdering soldiers, civilians, men, women, and children, and taking many hostages, including children and the elderly. At the same time, thousands of rockets were fired at towns in southern and central Israel. The IDF has been working to clear terrorist cells entrenched within the Gaza border communities, with heavy gun battles reported between Israeli troops and Palestinian terrorists. Israel said they have control now of all border towns, but continue to search for terrorists who may be hiding in the area. The IDF is also fighting on Israel's northern border, with reports of an attempted infiltration from Lebanon, and rocket attacks continue today, including at southern Israel, northern Israel, and at Jerusalem, with some injuries reported. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke today with southern, local, and regional council heads, telling them, "I know that you have undergone a difficult and terrible ordeal. What Hamas will experience will be difficult and terrible. We are already in the campaign and we are just getting started." He said the state will leave no stone unturned to help all of you. "I ask that you stand steadfast because we are going to change the Middle East. I embrace you and the residents. We are all with you and we will defeat them forcefully." The United States confirmed the deaths of 9 U.S. citizens among the casualties in the Hamas attacks, with others said to be unaccounted for, and unequivocally condemned the massacre. U.S. President Joe Biden calling it unconscionable. In a statement Saturday, Biden said he told Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu that the United States stands with the people of Israel in the face of these terrorist assaults, saying Israel has the right to defend itself and its people, full stop. There is never justification for terrorist acts.
In this moment of tragedy, I want to say to them and to the world and to terrorists everywhere that the United States stands with Israel. We will not ever fail to have their back. We'll make sure that they have the help their citizens need and they can continue to defend themselves.
U.S. Special Envoy to Monitor and Combat Anti-Semitism, Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt, said yesterday's heinous, barbaric terrorism against Israeli civilians is the most lethal assault against Jews since the Holocaust. There is no justification whatsoever for this mass murder. None. Grassroots efforts began almost immediately after the attacks. People in Israel across its society packing and distributing food and other supplies for residents of southern Israel and offering them places to stay, as well as food and supplies for IDF soldiers and those reservists on their way to serve. And gatherings of support are taking place to show solidarity with the people of Israel. Over 50 events across the U.S. and Canada organized by Jewish Federations of North America. CEO President Eric Fingerhut saying this is a moment for our communities to come together and stand united behind Israel. We must explain why this horrendous terrorist attack by Hamas is an affront to civilization and not just the Jewish people. We must explain why there is no moral equivalence, and we must explain why Israel will have to and will respond to defend itself. And we have some programming for you tonight, Monday, October the 9th, on the situation, including at 7 o'clock. The American Jewish Committee and Jewish Federations of North America present Rabbi David Wolpe, Yaakov Katz, Avital Leibovich, Ted Deutch, Eric Fingerhut, and others in a community-wide urgent briefing on the situation in Israel. At 9, Itamar Rabinovich, Richard Haass, and Lihi Ben Shitrit with Jodi Rudoren speak about the unprecedented complexity and scale of the attack from the 92nd Street Y. And at 10:30, a special FIDF Live with CEO Steve Weil, who leads an emergency briefing with Major General in Reserve Nadav Padan, who is FIDF National Director. In other programming tonight at 8 o'clock, Abigail Pogrebin talks with the women behind Lilith magazine's Frankly Feminist short stories by Jewish women. And coming up next, Shahar Azani speaks with IDF spokesperson Jonathan Conricus for the latest. And we here at JBS are standing shoulder to shoulder with the people of Israel. We mourn the profound and devastating loss of life and send our deepest condolences to the families who have lost loved ones. We send wishes for a speedy recovery to the injured and pray for the well-being and safe return of those who are missing and held captive. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.